In today's tutorial, we're going to go over the use of the macro recorder in Microsoft Excel 2010. A few ways to use the macro recorder and to use macros in your spreadsheet. Basically, what we're going to go over today is a good way to use macros if you're presenting data to a group of people and there's a lot of data on the spreadsheet. This one has a very small amount of data just for the example that we're going to use. So to start off with, we merged the first three cells and we froze the top panes, which you can freeze the panes from the View tab and select it here. You can do this on the top or down the side. What that's mainly going to be used for is after we build our macros, place buttons up here to select what macros you want to use. This makes it a little bit more user friendly. The data here is what we're going to use to sort and to change different features within the spreadsheet. So to start off with, we merge this all as one. You want to save as a macro enabled workbook. And once it's saved as a macro enabled workbook, you can go to Developer and go to Macro Recorder, and we'll save this as macro 1 will work. That's fine. Let it save it as that. And now basically anything we do on the spreadsheet is recording it in the macro for it to be used again later. Anything that would be repetitive. So for the first macro, what we'll do is we will select this group of information and let's give it some conditional formatting. So it just adds a little bit of conditional formatting to these. Let's go ahead and go back to Developer tab and hit Stop Recording. And then let's do the same thing and record another macro as macro 2. Select the same data. And then take off the conditional formatting. Okay. So now that's done, go back to Developer and stop recording. So if we look at our macros, we have macro 1 and macro 2 both saved here. And if you run the first one, it's going to place the conditional formatting that we had originally put on this column. It's going to go ahead and place that back on here. So if we go back to macros now, we hit macro 2, select Run, it takes it off of there. The best way to use this would be for shortcuts during a presentation. There's probably a lot of other ways you could use it. This is probably the best way to use it. You can't set it up and then use it on different areas of information because it's of course going to be in different cells and it won't match. So the best way to set this up would be to go to Insert, go to Shapes, select any of these shapes here. We'll use one of these. Just draw a little button. You can copy that and you can paste a few of them on here. And we'll place them down the top pane. This is why the pane is frozen, so we will have access to these buttons at all times. And you can change colors on these, you can add words to them, you can do whatever you want to formatting wise. So once we have these, we will select the button and you will right click and select Assign Macro and select whichever macro you want to select. Hit OK. And then add your macro to the same way to the other button. Select OK. And now if we press macro 1, it automatically places it on there. We select macro 2, it takes it off. And this would be a good way to keep different information available on hand very quickly during a presentation. We use the other button to take the conditional formatting off because depending on what you're doing, if you're hiding columns, if you're changing different features, depending on how you're formatting your information. A few of these recorded macros will not work properly. If you were to select one macro and then select another macro to do something else, they might conflict and not give you the information you're looking for. So it's always good to have a reset of whatever you've made when using the macro recorder this way. I hope this has been helpful, and if you would like to see more tutorials, please subscribe to our channel.